Hello, welcome back. Let's open with a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you that we can meet again, continue where we left off. I hope things have made sense. I pray that you may continue to guide us as we walk slowly. I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So we ended with a question about the sixth kingdom and this premise that every kingdom starts good and ends bad, i.e. starts as a lamb and becomes a dragon. But what about the sixth? If the sixth is never bad, then and it fails in its job function, doesn't that make it bad? So what's going on there? We're trying to understand that dynamic. To answer that question, or at least give my perspective of that question, I want to clarify, or together we can clarify, what is happening with the fifth kingdom? What's its sin? And if we get that, nail that down, we can understand the seventh kingdom, what's going on there, what's its sin, and then we can juxtapose the two with the sixth kingdom to identify what its sin is, and if it falls into the same category as all those other kingdoms, what makes it a beast. So we said we have kings. We have a woman. We defined them earlier. These kings, if we work on the premise that they're good kings, they're good kings because they do their job function, which is to serve the people. The people live in a society and they create these kings to protect them, to look out for their needs, their human rights, if you were to call them that. They're a tool for good. They have power to be able to do that good. But then this woman comes along, this woman with a bad ideology, and she starts flirting with these kings. So we know that there's some relationship between this woman and these kings. That's the spiritual. So what we do when we want to understand the spiritual is we go to the natural. Marta, naturally in a relationship, how does any relationship begin? What's the very first thing that happens? You have two people that don't know each other. What happens?
Is it a sexist or a equal relationship?
It's an equal relationship.
An equal, then
it's
both of
just
them
a relationship.
like each other and they get to know each other.
Before that, they don't even know anything.
Oh, yeah, they meet each other somewhere.
Okay.
Can be anywhere.
So this one, we'll say person A and person B. You say they meet somewhere. What happens? Describe it to me.
They speak.
It can be that both of them like each other. It can be that only person A likes person B or the other way around.
Sure. But to get to that point, Emily's, what did you say?
They first have to approach one another, and usually that is through conversation. They have to show interest in the way before in that they approach, and they have to be open.
Okay, so there's some form of openness that's necessary for conversation to even begin. So person sees person B and person A approaches person B and person B has two choices. They can close their ears and just turn away, or They can open their ears and hear what person A has to say for that conversation to even begin. That's the very first thing that needs to happen, is the decision for a conversation to be had. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So conversation starts. In today's young people lingo, they would say that one of them has riz. They start flirting with the other, and that person can decide to advance, carry on, flirt back, or just shut them down, generally speaking. Obviously, there's many nuances. So they start flirting, and then they decide, let's get into a relationship. They start courting, they start dating, etc. And they decide, let's get married. Get married. And then finally, they get married and they ratify their marriage. We'll say they consummate their marriage. Right. They make their marriage official. That's a general process of how any relationship would go. Obviously, there's nuances in between that. But the question is, this relationship between the kings and the women, it's described as fornication. It's described as an illicit relationship, a relationship that shouldn't be happening in the first place. And what a conversation that started last year about adultery and then continued at the ICM and has continued at the beginning of this year is this fornication. At what stage of this relationship between the woman and the kings would we say the fornication begins? Because that's what we're trying to answer, is when do these kings go from doing their job function, which is to protect the people, to doing the will of the woman? Walter, at what point would you say this woman and these kings are now in a relationship to affect the people? Just in your mind, where does their relationship become official?
When a relationship becomes at I think 0.4 already.
Okay. So here, so when they decide, let's go on a date.
Yeah.
So now they're in a union. They decide, let's start courting each other. So yeah, they're getting to know each other. But they can walk away at any time as part of that. So is it a solid relationship?
Not yet, but it's the beginning.
Okay. Mark? Would you agree with Walter? In normal setting, normal day-to-day life.
I would say that it is decided at 0.5.
Okay. When they decide, let's get married.
Yeah.
So one, they propose to each other this idea of let's get together. Is that?
Yeah, you're asking about when does fornication begin?
So I'm not there yet. I'm just talking about a normal relationship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Normal relationship. At what point is it now? Okay, now we're going to work together to achieve a certain goal. And Walter said it's all the way back at them going on dates when they're getting to know each other. Remember, the end goal is to achieve a common goal. share life together to achieve a common goal. So Arthur started us here where the relationship begins. Mark said when they decide to get married. Are there any other options?
Yeah, 6 would be also the option.
Okay. So now the marriage is ratified. So now they've signed the contract.
Because at point 6, there's no way back.
Yeah, they've signed the contract. Now it's legally binding, if you want to frame it that way. So in your normal day-to-day relationship, any one of these points, you could pick about when things become official. I think generally we would gravitate to the last stage where the contract is signed, because what started us off at the relationship. But as I think Wato would assent to the fact that you're just getting to know each other at that point. You haven't said, let's work together for a common goal. You're seeing if we can work together. That's the point of courtship, is to determine whether you can. Yeah, go on.
In reality, there are a lot of people who have a long-term relationship and live together, even have children, and they're not officially married.
Sure. That's why I said in a general setting.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through the various types of relationships that one can have. I'm talking about your general relationship that happens. So there's something that decides, okay, let's do this project. Let's go on this project together. What we have to be careful about, as I think Lizanne brought up, is confusing this modeling, which is your day-to-day life, with how the Bible is now going to frame it. What was that you brought up, Lizanne?
Fornication.
Why does that become important now? In shifting from how you would generally, the natural, because we would say in parables, the natural teaches you about the spiritual. Why does fornication operate differently?
Because this is a normal relationship, and that's legal, kind of. And fornication is something illegal.
Okay, so this is an illegal relationship. We know that.
And we need to decide what fornication is then.
What is... Yeah, carry on.
So what is fornication and when does fornication start? Because in the story of fornication, person A or B has to be married and there's this illegal relationship going on. And this is just random two people that like each other and are starting a relationship, what you're talking about now.
Mm-hmm. So when we trace through Israel in the Old Testament, or these kingdoms, because remember now we're talking about kings in Revelation 17, and we get to the book of Revelation, obviously. We can't treat prophecy, William Miller will say symbols, we'll call them symbols, the same way that you're going to treat literal descriptions of things. You'll say, read through your passage and determine whether you're going to treat it symbolically, or whether you're going to treat it literally. And what are we pushed towards? Are we pushed towards treating this literally, or are we pushed towards treating this symbolically?
Symbolically.
Why? Why can't it be literal? How do we know it's not literal?
We cannot, in a prophecy, take one thing literally and one thing symbolically. So if we have symbols that are symbols, it's symbolically, and we cannot then say, so there's
like what?
a marriage going on between a king and a certain woman.
What's the symbol that we get there? How do we know it's symbolic?
Beasts.
Okay. So you look around and you see a beast with 7 heads.
Yeah.
So you know that's not literal. It's not a literal animal with 7 heads because that doesn't happen in the literal world. So your mind should already be geared towards understanding this symbolically. So to understand it symbolically, this relationship, as Lizanne said, you go back into the Bible to understand fornication symbolically now, spiritually, not literally. So in the world today, literally, if you were to ask a judge, when would you say, I'm going to use the word adultery. It doesn't say adultery there, but I'm going to use the word adultery. When has your partner committed adultery against you? They're going to interpret that literally. But you know that you're dealing with a spiritual story. So you go to understand that adultery that's going on spiritually. And where do we go to determine that? What fornication means or adultery? I'm going to plug in the word adultery spiritually.
When does the adultery start spiritually?
Not when does it start? Where do I go to understand it?
Oh, sorry.
I don't know the verse, but the story that Jesus says, when you look at a woman, you already committed adultery.
Okay. So there's various places one could go. And Lizanne took us to Matthew 5:28, where Jesus is saying that you, Israel, you've already committed adultery long before you enter into any formalized covenant or relationship with Rome. You can go through the study. There's several studies that have been done about this chapter, so I'm just summarizing. And it's long before you physically get into this relationship. It starts where?
With the flirting.
At this stage over here, flirting. And what does flirting, when you're flirting with someone, what is that about?
You're interested.
Given, yeah, you're interested in them, but about what? So you started talking.
Starting a relationship.
You're interested in starting a relationship. I'm going to go back to something Emily said. You start talking to them. Once you start talking to them, you hear how they think, you hear what ideas they have, and you share your ideas. So that exchange of ideas and the entertaining of the ideas that I have I want to get into a relationship with Emily's. And so I'm going to say to Emily's, hey, Emily's, this is what I think about how life should operate. I think this is good. I think this works. And Emily's has 2 choices. What are his 2 choices? Once I tell him, hey, this is me. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I think about people around me. Emily's has 2 choices. Emily's, what are your 2 choices once you hear me rizzing you?
Agree or disagree, I would say, and then make my choice based on that.
So Emily's has this ear, and he can either open his ears or close them and say, I'm not going to entertain that, and I'm going to walk away. If I entertain that, it's going to lead down a certain road, a specific path. If he closes that path is closed. There's no way that path can continue. So we go back to this, and Jesus is saying, let's go to the specific verse. Jesus is saying that when you look at that at Rome and you lust after her, lust being you entertain the thought of her, of Rome, you've already committed adultery. So you don't need to get into bed with Rome. You don't need to get into a relationship with Rome. But from the point at which you start entertaining Rome flirting with you, the problem's already begun, because you've started on a path that it's very difficult to come off. So we're here, close their ideas, close their ears, or open their ears. That's where the problem is. So these kings and this woman commit fornication when these kings lust after the woman and her ideas. We started our discussion today in talking about how Daniel 11 verse 41, Revelation 13 verse 11, Daniel 1 verse 1, in all these various places, there's something ideological about the Sunday law. And we can see from Revelation 17 that it's the same thing, that these kings, their sin is entertaining this flirtation from the woman. So we've spoken very symbolic terms up until this point, but now in terms of application and thinking about placing the Sunday law for the seventh kingdom, who have we said, without proving it, now the woman is? Or in your mind, who would you say the woman is? This entity with an ideology that has ideas, that wants to control the people, or at least get the people to do a certain thing. Who's that woman? Easier. In the 1260, who's that woman? Wouter.
The church. In that time, it was the Roman Catholic Church.
Okay, so we have the papacy. It's an entity, it's a thing that exists. It has ideas about what's right and wrong, but how people should behave. And those kings are?
The kings of Europe.
Mhm.
In that
So we
time.
have So the papacy goes up to the kings of Europe and says, hey, yo, kings, I have these ideas about how society should function. And the kings have two choices, to listen or don't listen. These kings, are we talking about the people or are we talking about the monarchy? Remember, we defined kings as political institution with power.
The monarchies.
We're talking about the monarchy. So this monarchy that's there, a term that's been used is a throne, the institution of the monarchy, the crown, if you want to call it that. However you want to define it, it's this thing that has power, the monarchy, this throne, this crown. For the papacy, talking about the 1260, to get this crown, what did it need to do? What's standing in its way? Emily's, if you remember, 538, what's the papacy going to do to be able to get this crown to do its bidding?
There were some other entities that stood in the way, that needed to get removed. Three horns.
Mm-hmm. So there's three horns. It's come to 538, so there's one horn standing. The Ostrogoths, they're protecting this throne because they recognize that the papacy has bad ideas and it needs to be kept away from being able to use this throne effectively. And so the papacy has an army of its own. It's convinced someone to fight for it. I think the general's name was Belisarius, or something like that.
Belisarius.
Say again, Mark?
Belisarius.
the Dutch.
Yeah, okay. I heard Arjan whispering there, the Dutch. And this is its army. The papacy is an entity itself. And the papacy is going to use an army. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
To defeat this obstacle. And once it does that, it's defeated this obstacle. It's taken, the daily is taken away. Or this obstacle is taken away. The papacy can now start flirting with this throne. Can now start flirting with this chair. The key point that I want to make from this is that the story is about this entity and this throne and their relationship. This entity has an army. This army is going to be used by the papacy to defeat this army. Okay? You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So we go to today, and we're at the Sunday law. So it's no longer the papacy. That woman is... Who's that woman today?
Republican Party.
So one option is the Republican Party. And this beast, if you were to say this is the Republican Party, Emilise, the beast would be what? So remember we spoke about this monarchy. What would the beast be?
I want to say the residency, but
Okay.
not sure.
Presidency. Today's equivalent of a throne, of a monarchy.
Exactly.
So the specific thing that holds the power. So let's just call it the presidency. So if that's the beast, the presidency, which is a throne that holds power, and this Republican Party is an institution, we know that. It's an entity, we know that. It has ideas, we know that. If I were to ask you, Emilise, because you gave us these definitions, today or in the past, does a party sit on the throne? What do parties do in politics?
They elect a person. The party, I suppose, chooses the ideology or governs the ideology, maybe.
So they have an ideology, yeah?
Yeah.
And that ideology exists. It's an entity. So we know that it's an entity with an ideology. But this woman wants to sit on this presidency. So the question is, does the Republican Party or any party take hold of the presidency? What we want to find the thing that uses the presidency, this throne.
I would say yes.
Play that back to me today. How does that work? You have your three branches of government, your executive branch, legislative branch, and your judicial. We can go one by one. Your Republican Party as an institution. A person can be a Republican, but that's different from saying the institution. Do you agree with that?
I
So
do.
Thomas Clarence, who sits in the Supreme Court, is he a representative of the Republican Party, or is he just an individual with ideas that align with Republican values? Is he allowed to be a member of the Republican Party to sit in the judicial branch?
No, he isn't. So he is a person with his own ideas, or at least I want to say he should be.
Should be.
Maybe a better wording.
In how the system's created.
Yeah, that's the framework of the.
The framework at least. And then we get to the legislative branch, and we have Congress, we have the House and the Senate. Now, how does that operate?
Now here you have to be affiliated, I guess, with a party, because that's how you get elected. It's on your party platform.
So now you have members of parties. Yeah, exactly. So you have members of parties, and these parties, these members are now going to represent a party. Or you can stand as an independent. But the point is that now you have representatives that sit there and are going to champion the causes of the party. So the party platform is, let's say, no guns. We shouldn't have, guns shouldn't be allowed. That's the party platform. So you're going to get a representative of that party to sit in Congress and make arguments for that. So yeah, you have your party. And that's how the system is created to operate. And then we get to the executive branch. And I'm just going to be specific and talk about the throne in that branch. Is this person allowed to represent the Republican Party?
Yes.
What's the job function of the person that sits here?
To protect the people.
Which people?
All the people.
All the people.
Not just Republicans.
So that person, at least how the system is constructed, has to be neutral. They have to sit there and serve the needs of all people. So their party affiliation now gets put to the side. They may have ideas, just like your Thomas Clarence over here, that aligns with the party. But first and foremost, they're an individual. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is that primarily they're first an individual that's going to do stuff. But coming back to our story over here, that entity can have an army to do its work. Lizanne, does that register?
Yeah. So it cannot be the Republican Party. The woman.
The woman. It has to be something that's going to use the throne, that can use the throne to do its bidding. But it can have an army that it uses to get access to the throne. So, if that's the case, Walter, what would the entity be this time round?
You mean the woman?
The woman.
Yeah.
I just said the entity, but yeah, the woman. That's going to use an army to get access to the throne.
Yeah,
In your political system.
I'm a bit confused because the Women Republican Party, it says there it's an entity with ideology, but it's also an institution. But the institution was the definition of the beast or the heads, I thought. So
I'm not saying that this is the definition. It was a suggestion that was given.
Okay, yeah.
And so we tried exploring whether that suggestion holds. And so I just want to hear your thoughts about what you think about what we discussed.
I thought before we said also that it was like the MAGA ideology.
Okay, so another suggestion is that this woman equals MAGA
Because
itself.
that's only an ideology, that's not an institution.
Okay, ideology. And we said ideologies have to sit where? They don't just float around.
There needs some institution, some organization.
Does it have to be an institution? If we go back to our definitions over here, what's the difference between this definition and this definition?
The first one doesn't have power, I think.
Okay.
And the second
Yeah,
one
so
has
this
power.
one doesn't have power. What else? What other differences can you spot?
Yeah, the political part.
They both. Yeah. So one is explicitly described as an institution, your kings.
Yeah.
This one is just left generic as an entity.
Yeah.
So there's a key point that's being made there by not describing the woman as an institution and just as an entity.
Yeah, the woman by herself is powerless.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just exists. It can be an institution, but it can also not be an institution.
Yeah.
It can just be something else. So this ideology, we'll say MAGA, it needs an entity to hold it. And so what my question is in today's terms, what is that entity? We've had one suggestion, Republican Party. And so we would ask the question, in reality, does the Republican Party sit on the throne?
The president sits on the
Okay,
throne.
so we described it as the presidency. So we already know that this beast, as Emily's described, is the presidency. So the president is just the beast. That's what it is. It's the presidency. It's the monarchy, as I think you articulated. So there needs to be something that's going to sit on that presidency. And today, who sits on a presidency?
Yeah, Donald Trump.
It's a person.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's a person. So what we're describing today is you go through some steps just by saying it, skip some steps and just say Trump to make the point that I want to make. So we have Donald Trump, who's going to use the Republican Party to get access to this throne. Remember our story over here. The papacy is going to use an army to get access to a throne. It's the same story, just in modern day terms. It's not literal armies, and it's not a literal throne. It's a presidency. We'll say, a spiritual army. Your Republican Party, your new Republican Party, specifically.
Can I ask one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
And that in the 1260 you wrote down the kings and not the beast.
Oh yeah, it should
And
be
now-
beast, I think.
And now you said
I wrote down kings because of Revelation 17 verse 2 specifically, because it uses the word kings in that verse.
okay.
So if we go through in Revelation,
Wouldn't you put down heads then down instead of beast? Or am I understanding
so
wrong?
no, that's fair. So here in Revelation 17, we're told about verse 2 says kings, that the woman commits fornication with the kings, and then we're told about a beast that it sits on. And in that same chapter, in verse 9 over here, it says the 7 heads are 7 mountains. So those heads are mountains, and then it tells us what those mountains are. They're kings. They're 7 kings.
So yeah, so because I was thinking the kings is the heads And they become the beast when the woman rides them. That doesn't.
These kings over here in verse 2, you have to be careful because, here we're in the 1260.
Mm-hmm.
And as Wouter told us, these are the kings of Europe.
Yeah.
So it's one head, it's one king.
Oh, yeah.
It says kings, but it's one king. There's just multiple of them.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not interchangeable with the 7 kings
So
that we're talking about, those 7 heads.
these kings are then one head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't you put down there like the woman is Trump and the head is the presidency, and as soon as Trump is sitting on the presidency, it becomes the beast?
So we didn't go through those steps. We can, but you rushed through some things.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
It confused me that you wrote down beast there. That's why, like should we not write down head? Or, but if you have a good, I don't know for sure.
Sure. So let's take a step back then, in that case. We know that this beast, where's my beast? My beautiful beast.
Yeah, there.
It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 heads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That just exist. And each head represents a throne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just going to serve the needs of the people. Each of these heads serve the needs of the people. It's going to do a good work. It's going to do a good job for what the people created it for.
Mm-hmm.
Then this woman comes along, starts flirting with this head, with this throne, and jumping through some steps. This throne now is going to adopt the ideology of the woman. It's going to change its color now. And in what Lizanne just described, now it's going to be called a beast. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So now in this story, I've written beast here because we're talking about the fornication that's happening between the woman and the throne.
Mm-hmm.
So when there's fornication happening between these two, it's a beast. It's not just a head. It's a specific type of head. So it will always remain a head. Head equals throne. Throne that does bad things is a beast. They're two in the same thing. It's just a terminology used to describe a specific type of throne. Okay. So we went pretty fast through a lot of stuff. So does anyone have any questions on
No.
this specific point that
Maybe
Lizanne brought up?
you could have written down head underneath that woman instead of beast, couldn't you?
You could have,
Yeah.
but we want to
Understand.
describe a specific type of head,
Yeah. Okay.
one that commits fornication.
Then we're on one line.
Okay.
I'm a bit confused when
Yeah, no,
we
that's
say
fine.
there's a beast and it has heads, and then the heads become a beast. Doesn't make sense to me.
Sure. Okay. So let's park all of this. This idea of armies and etc. And we'll come back to it. And let's start at the beginning. You have a beast, and this beast is going to exist from, we'll say it's Satan's kingdom. That's going to exist from the beginning of the Great Controversy up till the end of the Great Controversy. Beast, in this sense, is a kingdom. So Satan's going to have a kingdom that's going to be used throughout the ages, from start to finish. Yeah? And then we're told that actually there's 7 specific time periods in history where this kingdom is going to look different. And it uses the word head when it does that.
Okay.
So we have 7 heads, i.e., 7 dispensations. And now we're going to get particular, going to get specific about what these heads, how they behave, how they operate. So we're told in verse 9,
17?
yeah, 17, chapter 17, verse 9, that these heads are what?
7 months.
Yanis?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, 7 mountains.
7 mountains. And these 7 mountains in the next verse are 7 kings,
Kings. Kings or kingdom?
7 kingdoms,
Yeah.
kings. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So 7, it says 7 kings, but they're 7 kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the information we're given there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do is understand what these 7 kings or kingdoms represent specifically. What part of a kingdom are they? And earlier we described that there's a very specific thing that controls the nation, and that's the throne. That's the seat of government. It's the monarchy. That's where all the power is centralized as to how people's lives are going to be affected. So we have 7 thrones.
But it says actually that the 7 heads are 7 mountains
Mhm.
on which the woman sitteth. But then in the next verse, in verse 10, it says, and there are 7 kings. There are, not they are.
So it's repeat, if you think of it of repeat and enlarge,
Okay.
that these, it's told you the 7 heads are 7 mountains. And earlier we were told that the woman sits on these heads.
Mm-hmm.
And here we're told that the woman sits on these kings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we have these thrones that the woman wants. She wants power. And so she wants control of the monarchy. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to get specific. Verse 11. Because now we need detail of what these 7 heads, how they behave, how they operate, what's their relationship. Each of these 7, what's their relationship with the woman? So John is going to zoom in. And we're told about beast now. The language of beast is going to be used. Split into 3 time periods. The past, the present, and the future. Yanis, in the past, which throne do we have in this time period? What number throne is here?
What number?
Based on your previous knowledge.
Verse 11.
15.
5.
How do you know that?
No, 4. 4 and 1.
Where are we in
were
history?
fallen because they were already fallen.
They are possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, where are we in history where these 5 have fallen? So not the 5th, but all the previous 5 in the past. Where are we standing in history here? Where John is being told, okay, the 5 are in the past.
1798.
Okay, so we're in 1798. And then it says, in the present, what's happening?
1 is
Okay, so 1 is, which number is that?
6.
Which number head? And tell me what to write next.
7. And it shall be.
In the future, the 7th is going to exist. That's just describing kings now, heads.
Mhm.
This, what we've spoken about here.
Mhm.
Now it's going to tell us about beasts. Because John wants to make a specific point about the beast.
Nu heb je het over 10 gehad. Nu gaat het over 11.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We're together?
Mhm.
It says verse 10, but it should be, it says verse 11,
Oh, yeah.
It should be 10, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're in verse 11. And Wouter, what does it tell us about beasts?
Let me check. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
The beast that was and is not is
Slowly.
himself-
Let's go bit by bit.
The
So we're in
beast,
1798.
yeah,
And John's going to be told the beast that.
that was
Mm-hmm.
and is not,
Yeah.
is himself also the 8th.
And through going through some steps, 8 is a symbol of what?
Symbol?
Of what, sorry, Lizanne?
Resurrection.
So without proving it, there's no 8th beast. We just have something that's going to resurrect in the future. This beast that was is going to resurrect.
Yeah, it says and is of the 7.
Mhm.
So
So it's
the
one
8th
of those
is
ones.
one of those 7, yeah.
Yeah. And we can show that that one there is this 5th one that's going to resurrect. So back to you, Yanis. We have this story of kings, the 6th king,
Mhm.
or the 6th head. How is the beast described in that story of the 6th, this time period of the 6th? So there's a beast here.
Is not. Hè? Mhm.
Just what the words say.
It says is not.
So this beast, is it there or is it not there?
It's not there.
No beast.
Ah,
And then,
it will be.
so this beast is back again
Mhm. Ah,
in the time period of the 7th head.
yeah.
So we need to find out what it means for there to be a head, but no beast.
Yeah.
That's our investigation of what it means when there's a head, but it's not described as a beast. And so we look here in the 5th dispensation, and John's just been given a whole load of history describing what's happening between the woman and these thrones. This woman is controlling them. This woman has committed fornication with them. So you have a throne that's described as a beast. But now you have a throne that's not described as a beast.
Mhm.
And then here you again have a throne that's described as a beast. So coming back to your question, can you remind us?
I said I find it confusing that we say there's a beast, the beast has 7 heads, and the head can become a beast. Yeah, that's what I, because it's not natural, it's not logical, it's something that the head is existing without the beast, and it can, the head itself becomes a beast. That's my.
So what we end up doing is we take these components, I'm just going to write heads, and we make a distinction over here, and we say that this is one thing, and this is another thing. And we look at them separately, as opposed to parabolically as some sort of repeat and enlarge of a description of this beast is now going to be described through heads dispensationally. So they're the same thing. They're not two different things that you can juggle around. These heads are descriptions of this beast through phases in time, through different phases in time. And you get to this specific phase in time where it's not described as a beast. So at a simple level, a beast is a head, but a specific head, specific type of head. So the head doesn't stop existing because your head is just your throne. It's just your institution. That institution just starts being used for a specific purpose. And when it behaves in a specific way, in our previous class, we described it as speaking like a dragon. It's now going to be described as a dragon or a beast in this case.
Okay.
Is that clearer?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would also mean that the presidency in the sixth kingdom would be a head, and now it's turned into a beast.
So that's the question. Does that sixth throne become a beast?
That was the
And
question. Did it end bad?
Yeah, so I'm asking you, at least according to John, does this sixth head ever become a beast?
No.
John's telling us that it doesn't. So this bad woman never gets the chance to flirt with this throne, this head, because the protector does a good job. This army over here is strong enough to hold that woman at bay. But the fifth kingdom, it fails. It starts listening to the woman. The seventh starts listening to the woman. But the sixth, what is its failure? If it doesn't become a beast, if it doesn't listen to the woman, what's its failure? Are we on the same page? Walter?
Maybe the failure is that it ends somewhere. It's not.
So it ends because it's failed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't fail because it ends. Yeah. Okay.
What's its job? Let's start there. What's the job of each of these heads?
To protect the people. That's what we said.
What do you say?
Oh, I'm just repeating now.
Yeah, for yourself, if you were to think that throne, what's its purpose? What's the purpose of a head?
Well, if the heads, because the heads are kings, so then it's like to govern the country.
So each of these heads, as well as the sixth, is to govern.
Yes.
It's to serve the people. Yeah? The seventh, what's its purpose?
To govern.
To govern
Yeah, also.
as well. To serve the people. What's the big deception that ends up happening with this seventh? Because it says it deceives the people in chapter 13. It says it makes them drunk in chapter 17. So what's that lie that the seventh is telling?
Well, they serve the people somehow, but in the wrong way, I think.
That it's serving the people. But it's deceiving them because it's saying, I'm going to serve you. But now there's someone sitting there who's pulling the strings, who has bad ideas.
Yeah.
And is going to pretend to serve the people.
Yeah.
Serve their needs. So this sixth, if we work on the assumption that this bad woman never gets the chance to deceive the people into doing bad things, and its job is this, how would you describe its failure now? It's failed at its job. Remember, the seventh, its problem is fornication, and it's deceiving the people. So it's serving them, it's still serving the people, still doing its job, but now deceitfully. What's its job? What's the sixth job?
And to me, it seems actually that they were doing their job well. It's just because the deception.
Don't look at reality.
Oh,
don't
okay.
look into today's politics. Just the story. Yeah, we've said the sixth is to serve the people. The seventh is to serve the people. The seventh is going to deceive the people into believing that they are being served, by the seventh kingdom. So if the sixth has failed, the seventh
wasn't able to show that there was a deception going on with the seventh.
There's no seventh kingdom in the time period of the sixth. It's just the sixth that exists. Job, serve the people.
So, but you say it failed in its job function, but...
Yeah, that's what we're trying to answer. What does that failure look like?
But do you want... Because I was thinking about what you wrote up there, that there was an army necessary to get rid of the Ostrogoths. And then the papacy was able to reign or to influence all the kings of Europe. And that's what I would say that now is this. Trump needed also an army to get the throne, but it's not a literal throne. And somehow there was, I mean, that's what you were telling, of course, that it was the Conservative Party that
Forget about all that application.
Okay. because I'm going that
For now.
direction, so I'm thinking
So
like,
this sixth is what? It's a throne. Yeah? The sixth
Yeah.
is a throne as well.
mhm,
If we understood that the seventh is not a party, it's the presidency. The sixth is the presidency.
Mhm.
Yeah? The sixth is to serve the people. Its job. So not doing its job.
so it just didn't serve equality anymore. It just stopped it.
Is not serving the people.
Yeah.
If the job is serving the people, then not doing the job is not serving
Yeah.
the people.
So they're not doing what they should do.
Exactly. That's different to saying
Okay.
that the people are going to be deceived into thinking that they're being served.
So first the sixth had to build their job, not serving the people, and then the seventh was able to deceive the people because they were
This
not served by the sixth.
exactly. So we have this story of people that create this system to serve their needs.
Mm-hmm.
The people say, you, number 6, you are meant to be serving me. But for whatever reason, that 6 stops doing its job. And so this 7th is given the opportunity to rise up because they want something that can serve their needs. I want to be served. And so this entity comes along and says, I know what to do. I can fulfill your needs. I'll use this throne to serve your needs because that's what you want from this throne. And so it takes its ideas, this entity, mixes them with this throne. So now these people are going to be deceived into thinking they are being served.
So when I mean, I don't know if I may. But when
No,
we make an
go along.
No, when we make an application for that in the sixth kingdom, how were the people not served? What is that's really then really practical things or not?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It has to be practical things.
So like bad economics, all those kind of things or something like they were not served.
What are the needs the people care about?
Mhm. That
We
they
would
have
say,
money and that they have healthcare and that they
etc., etc.
are
So
fully and
That
so
the
on.
pursuit of happiness.
exactly. So when this sixth kingdom was set up and Jefferson writes his Declaration of Independence and says, we want to break away from you, monarchy, and we want a system of government where 3 things are going to be fulfilled, which
Life,
are
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yeah. Happiness, which is also known as property. Selfishness.
money.
Money. Okay.
So these people care about economics because they recognize that to be happy, I need things in life. I need the ability to accumulate knowledge, money, property, etc., etc. I need freedom. To live how I want to live within the confines of my specific life. And life. Everyone has the right to life, etc. So in each of these 3 things, we can look how the sixth kingdom has operated up until present. And if I can just describe it loosely, they become Laodicean, which is what? Lazy.
Mm.
Lazy, essentially. Being comfortable in how they exist. And so these needs stop being fulfilled. If you were to think of economically, you can see that. If you were to think of an example that I give, which I think is an easy one to look at, is the right to an abortion. In just laying back and thinking precedent will afford women the right to an abortion. And we can see how that laziness led to that being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
A good system would have codified that, as many European nations do, in making that law or creating that institution. So this sixth kingdom, it becomes bad, not because it deceives the people, but because it stops doing its job, which is very different to having a bad woman sit on the throne and deceive the people. I don't know who asked that question about the sixth kingdom. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was
Yeah.
also a question that just came up. We don't know
Yeah.
who to ask.
No, that's fine.
Gather
That's
them.
fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
we've described the sixth kingdom, the seventh kingdom, and the differences between a beast and a head. But I want to get back to this discussion about armies.
Oh yeah. By the way, we're at 1 hour, 11 minutes.
Okay, so we'll end with just this point about armies.
Okay.
Today we have the throne, the presidency, to wrap things up.
Mm-hmm.
We have Trump, and we have, I'll say, the New Republican Party. 1, 2, 3. We have to be sure what role each of these things play in end time prophecy. And I'd suggest we can't mix up these two, or these two, or these two. They each have specific roles in this story. My suggestion is that they're just being used. The Republican Party is just being used.
Mm-hmm.
The presidency is just being used to achieve something by this entity. If we were to look today and just look at the Republican Party in Congress, sometimes they listen to Trump, sometimes they don't listen to Trump. The point in all of that is that this party over here does not control the throne. If they write some law and it goes up to Trump's office, he decides, am I going to sign this into law or not? This becomes, in my mind, important when tracking developments through the Sunday Law dispensation, about what the story, who the story is about. Is it about Trump? Is it about the party? Is it about the throne? Etc., etc. And a good analogy that I use is that history of the 1260, that the Ostrogoths were, Ariane described them last week as gatekeepers that protected the throne from this entity, Trump. But Trump needs something, an army, Belisarius, to get access to that throne, to take care of the Ostrogoths, your gatekeepers, and etc. So this Sunday Law waymark that we have over here, which has been described as the National Convention, the RNC, and studies that I've done, it's about gatekeepers, etc. All this revolves around this entity that goes from talking and convincing this army, the New Republican Party, so from the primaries in the election in January, this entity speaks to this New Republican Party to say, hey, I need you to do something for me. I need access to that throne, etc., etc., etc. And they eventually get to the National Convention, and these gatekeepers are, the term that's used is purged, are replaced by this new Republican Party who can give access to Trump to start talking to this throne, to start flirting with this throne. And that's where the story of fornication happens. But it's important to put all these players in their right sphere. One is an army, one is the woman, the entity with the ideology, and one is the throne that's going to be used to affect the people, and etc. And we can see that from when Trump is nominated at the RNC, now his message can go wider than just the Republican Party. Now the message can be addressed to the throne, to the presidency. Because at this point, he's not campaigning for the presidency. He's campaigning to get access to the presidency. That's why July 18 becomes important. Because it's that switch where now the entity with the ideology can start campaigning to the throne. And that throne is protected by these gatekeepers. These gatekeepers decide whether the throne is going to listen to you or not listen to you. And that story I gave of me flirting with Emily's. Okay. So, let's recap for 2 minutes about the things that we did cover, and then we'll close. The first point that I wanted to go through was this waymark here, the Sunday law. What's the key theme of it? And by going through Daniel 11:41, Revelation 13 verse 13 and 14, etc., a key takeaway that I wanted from that is that this is an ideological story of this entity that's ideologically going to do something to the glorious land. And the reason why we went through that was to understand the speaking of the dragon in this period of the Sunday law. What is it? And my suggestion was that it has to be tied to ideology, because it's out of the mouth that beliefs come out. And those beliefs need to be codified. So there is something to do with legislation and etc. But we use that to then break down the woman and the kings in Revelation 17, etc., etc. And we spent the second half understanding the sixth kingdom, what its sin is in comparison to the fifth, 1 to 5, and then number 7. They're different sins, and different sins bring different punishments, if you want to call it that. And for me, it was important to end with describing the role of an army in that story of the 1260. The Ostrogoths being the army that protects the throne from the papacy and their ideology. Today, the Republican Party was that army that protected the throne from bad ideologies, or bad entities with bad ideologies. The Democrats do a similar job. It's just that this time, the Republican Party let someone through, or they were taken out of the way, as Arian described in a bit more detail last week. One of the key questions that came up was about Julius Caesar. I apologize that we didn't get to go there, but if you follow along with the journey, hopefully I'll be able to touch on Julius Caesar at another place. But understanding the symbology here, I hope that now when revisiting the story of Hitler and Julius Caesar, we can see how this dynamic is represented in those stories of fornication, entities with ideologies, and the term that we use is gatekeepers, protecting the throne. So yeah, let's close with a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you that we get to sit together and discuss ideas. It's been a long 2.5 hours, but I pray that it may have been worth it for each and every one of us participating. I pray that you may be with us through the rest of the Sabbath. May we still receive the blessings that you want us to receive. And I praise you always for you doing your job in bringing the great controversy to an end. I pray that we may do our job as we work together in this story. I praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.